Before you do anything today, before you eat, before you work, before you even open your eyes, there is something important you should know. You are poor. Not the kind of poor where you complain about the price of coffee. Not the kind of poor where your internet is slow for 5 minutes and your day is ruined. You are medieval peasant poor. The year is around 1300. You live in a small village somewhere in Europe. You own very little. Most of your possessions could fit into a single cart. You work almost every day of your life. And yet, compared to many of your neighbors, you are doing reasonably well. For now, though, none of that matters. Because it is still dark outside. You wake slowly on a rough mattress stuffed with straw. Calling it a mattress is actually being generous. It is more like a sack filled with dry plant material that pokes you in places you did not know could be poked. The straw shifts beneath you as you move. Your back hurts? That is normal. Your legs hurt too. Also normal. In fact, if something does not hurt, that would probably be unusual. The room around you is dim. The only light comes from faint orange embers glowing in the hearth. The fire that warmed the house during the evening is nearly dead now. The air feels cold. Very cold. Especially during winter. Unlike modern homes, your cottage has no insulation, no central heating, and definitely no thermostat waiting for you to argue with your family about the correct temperature. The weather outside decides how warm you will be. And the weather is not always feeling generous. You sit up slowly. Nearby, other members of your family are still asleep. Privacy does not really exist here. Your parents, children, grandparents, and sometimes even animals may share the same building. Everyone lives close together because space is limited and warmth is valuable. If somebody snores, everyone hears it. If somebody talks in their sleep, everyone hears that too. And if a chicken somehow finds its way indoors during the night, which occasionally happens, everyone hears that most of all. The cottage smells exactly how you might expect. Smoke from the hearth hangs in the air. The scent of damp earth rises from the floor. There are traces of animals, sweat, wet clothing, and yesterday's meal. To a modern visitor, the smell might be overwhelming. To you, it is simply home. You rub your eyes and listen. Outside, the village remains mostly silent. A distant dog barks somewhere in the darkness. A rooster begins crowing. Then another. Soon several are competing with one another as if they have entered some kind of medieval singing contest. This is one of nature's less appreciated alarm clocks. No one has a watch. No one has a smartphone buzzing beside the bed. The rising sun and the sounds of the village help organize the day. And your day starts early. Very early. Much of medieval life follows daylight. There is simply too much work to waste valuable morning hours. In summer, people may wake before sunrise to take advantage of the cooler temperatures. During harvest season, every hour matters. The crops must be gathered before rain, storms, or bad luck decide otherwise. You swing your feet onto the floor. The ground beneath you is packed dirt. Not wood. Not carpet. Certainly not heated tile. Just earth. Simple and practical. The cottage itself is small. Most peasant homes contain only 1 or 2 rooms. The walls may be made from woven branches covered in mud and clay. The roof is often thatched with straw or reeds. It keeps most of the rain out. Most of the time. Hopefully. When storms arrive, things can become interesting. And by interesting, we mean wet. As your eyes adjust, more details appear. Wooden stools. A simple table. Storage chests. A few cooking pots. Everything in the house has a purpose. There is little room for decoration. Objects are expensive. Labor is valuable. Nothing is wasted if it can still be used. Even clothing is repaired again and again until it is almost more patched than original fabric. You pull on your clothes. You do not have a closet filled with choices. Fashion is not your biggest concern. Staying warm is. Most peasants own only a few garments. Wool is common because it provides warmth even when damp. Linen might be worn underneath when available. Your clothes are practical. Nobody is trying to impress anyone before sunrise. Near the hearth, someone begins stirring. Perhaps your spouse. Perhaps your mother. Perhaps a child who has learned that sleeping late usually means more chores waiting later. The first task of the morning is often checking the fire. Fire is life. It provides heat, light, and a place to cook food. Allowing it to go out completely can create a great deal of extra work. The glowing embers are carefully encouraged back to life. A little kindling, a few small sticks, gentle blowing. Soon a tiny flame appears. Then another. The room slowly brightens. The day has officially begun. Outside, a pale gray light is starting to spread across the horizon. The village is waking. Doors creak open. People emerge from cottages. Shapes move through the morning mist. Some head toward wells. Others check livestock. Many are already thinking about the long hours of labor waiting ahead. Because for peasants, work is never far away. The fields are waiting. The animals are waiting. The Lord's demands are waiting. Even the weather seems to be waiting for an opportunity to make life more difficult. But that comes later. For now, there is a brief moment of stillness. A few quiet minutes between sleep and labor. The fire crackles softly. The village stirs. The sun prepares to rise. And as another day begins in medieval Europe, you are about to discover that getting out of bed may be the easiest thing you do all day. The sun has not fully risen yet. A pale glow sits low on the horizon, painting the edges of the village in soft shades of gray and gold. The air is cool. Dew clings to the grass. Somewhere nearby, a rooster is still convinced that everyone needs to hear his opinion. You step outside your cottage. The morning feels damp against your skin. For a brief moment, the village almost looks peaceful. Almost. Because the workday has already begun. Unlike modern mornings, there is no leisurely scrolling through messages. No coffee shop around the corner. No chance of spending 20 minutes deciding whether you are really ready to get out of bed. The animals do not care how tired you feel. The chores are waiting, and they have been waiting every morning for as long as anyone can remember. The first thing many peasants do is check on their livestock. Animals are one of the most valuable things a family can own. A cow can provide milk. Chickens provide eggs. Goats can offer both milk and meat. Even a pig represents a small fortune to many families. Losing an animal can be a serious disaster. You make your way toward the small enclosure beside your home. The chickens are already awake. They seem unusually energetic for creatures that spend most of their lives wandering around looking confused. Several peck at the ground. Others wander in circles. One appears to be arguing with another over absolutely nothing. Some things never change. You collect eggs from the nesting area. Not every day produces a large haul. Some mornings you might gather only a few. Still, every egg matters. Nothing goes to waste. Nearby, a cow shifts its weight impatiently. If your family owns one, milking becomes part of the daily routine. It requires practice, patience, and hands that do not mind working before breakfast. The milk collected today may be consumed fresh, turned into butter, or used for making cheese. Cheese is especially valuable because it lasts much longer than fresh milk. In a world without refrigerators, that is a very useful quality. As the animals settle into their morning routine, another important task waits. Water. Modern people rarely think about water. You turn a handle. You press a button. Water appears. For a medieval peasant, things are slightly more complicated. You grab a wooden bucket and begin walking toward the village well. If your village lacks a well, the journey may lead to a stream, river, or spring. Either way, water requires effort. Every drop that enters your home must first be carried there. The path is already busy. Other villagers are making the same trip. You exchange greetings. Nothing too long. Everyone knows there is work ahead. The well stands at the center of village life. People gather here daily. News spreads here. Gossip spreads even faster. If someone has done something embarrassing, chances are the entire village will know before sunset. Human nature, it seems, is another thing that has not changed much. You lower the bucket carefully. The rope creaks. The bucket splashes. Then comes the hard part, pulling it back up. A full bucket is heavy, very heavy, and carrying water back home quickly reminds you why strong backs are so valuable in medieval society. By the time you return, the village is fully awake. Thin streams of smoke rise from cottage roofs. Doors open and close. Voices drift through the cool morning air. Inside your home, the fire is growing stronger. Keeping the hearth burning is one of the most important jobs in the household. Fire means warmth. Fire means cooking. Fire means survival. Without matches or modern lighters, starting a completely new fire can be difficult and time-consuming. That is why families often try to keep embers alive overnight whenever possible. A few carefully placed sticks become larger logs. The flames begin dancing. Soon enough, the cottage feels less like an icebox and more like a place humans can actually live in. Of course, the fire also produces smoke. A lot of smoke. Many peasant homes have no proper chimney. Instead, smoke escapes through holes in the roof or simply drifts upward and finds its own way out. This means your eyes often sting. Your clothes smell like smoke. And your lungs spend years becoming very familiar with the experience. Breakfast preparations begin. But before food arrives, there are still more chores. Always more chores. Children help whenever they are old enough. In fact, childhood looks very different here. A 6-year-old might already be collecting firewood. An 8-year-old may help herd geese. A 10-year-old could be trusted with important daily tasks. Everyone contributes. Everyone works. There is little room for idleness. If one family member falls behind, everyone feels the consequences. Outside the village, some peasants head toward common grazing land. Others inspect fences. Broken fences can create major problems. A wandering cow might destroy crops. A loose pig can disappear into nearby woods. Finding it later may turn into a frustrating adventure. Animals possess a remarkable ability to choose exactly the worst possible moment to escape. Meanwhile, women often manage dozens of responsibilities at once. They prepare food, care for children, tend gardens, feed animals, gather supplies, repair clothing, and somehow still find time for countless other tasks. The amount of labor required just to keep a household functioning is enormous. Every day demands attention. Every season brings new challenges. Nothing runs automatically. Nothing happens at the push of a button. As the sun climbs higher into the sky, the village begins shifting toward the next stage of the day. The morning chores are nearly complete. Animals have been fed. Water has been collected. The fire burns steadily. The household is awake. For a short time, people pause. Not because the work is finished. Far from it. But because something else is needed before heading to the fields. Food. Simple food. Modest food. The kind of meal that would make a modern restaurant customer ask where the rest of it went. Yet for millions of peasants, it is enough to begin another long day. And after a morning filled with buckets, animals, smoke, and labor, even a humble breakfast can feel like a reward. The fields are waiting. But first, it is time to eat.